Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. At the outset, I would like to caution today's editorial is not that easy to comprehend. The reason being, it is related to economy, and to be very specific, it goes with household consumption expenditure survey, and not at all easy. You have to listen very carefully, and not too many words. There are about 16 words, but comprehension point of view, it's a tough editorial. Let us start with the question, what is this editorial about? This editorial is about the findings of the household consumption expenditure survey. It is all about a particular survey, and the survey is related to household consumption expenditure conducted between August 2022 and July 2023 in India. Because it is about a particular survey, goes with economy, related to expenditure, spending, priorities of people, and related to economy, you have to have some background, but we'll see what skills are required to comprehend this editorial. I always tell students any editorial related to Indian economy, very important. If you take a SLEEP's concept acronym, which I have created, what is the second E? What does it stand for? It stands for economy. Why economy related editorials are important? If you take India, generally we say India is a third world country. India is a developing country. When we say India is a third world country, obviously you have to think what is the first world, what is the second world. The first world is industrially developed capitalist countries, and the like USA, UK, France. And if you take the second world, industrially developed communist countries, former USSR and many Eastern European countries. And if you take the third world, either developing or underdeveloped socialist countries, it's a mix of private sector and public sector. And India is a developing country. For any developing country, economic dimension or economic development is a top priority. And based on that, any editorial related to economy, very important, you may get in the exam as a passage. And what skills are required at the outset? Reading comprehension skill, ability to understand the text, including the main ideas, supporting details, and overall structure of the editorial. This is what you are supposed to have. Second one, critical thinking. Because it goes with economy, casual reading will not help. It demands critical thinking, capacity to analyze and evaluate the arguments presented in the editorial based on the survey. Third one, economic literacy. This is something very important because it is related to Indian economy. You need to have some sort of economic literacy, familiarity with economic concepts such as inflation, GDP growth, consumer expenditure, and poverty levels. This background will help understand the editorial with some sort of comfort. Statistical literacy. Any survey presents statistical data. Obviously, when you come across that data, you have to have that particular skill or literacy, statistical literacy. Ability to interpret and evaluate statistical data, including growth rates, percentages. In this editorial also you come across all these and other quantitative information presented in the editorial. I always say the most important thing to understand a piece of text, either passage or clause or parajumble, contextual awareness is very important. Knowledge of recent events and economic policies, such as demonetization, the goods and services tax, which are referenced in the editorial. This contextual awareness also helps when it comes to understanding the editorial. Good morning to all of you. Critical reading skills. This is also something higher level. Being able to discern or differentiate the author's tone, purpose, and potential biases or prejudices. All these skills are not the regular skills. Usually when I tell students, when you read an editorial, two things are essential. One, contextual awareness. The second, vocabulary skills. But here I haven't mentioned vocabulary skills. No doubt important, but other skills play a major role or a crucial role, and a layman, a typical reader, cannot comprehend an editorial related to economy. You have to spend more time. Perhaps some sentences you have to read twice or thrice, only then you can comprehend. What is the tone of the editorial? The tone of the editorial appears to be critical and skeptical. Critical, looking at the positive aspects, more at the negative aspects, and skeptical, an important word. Skeptical means doubting. The editorial doubts certain things, based on that skeptical. Generally, some persons, they doubt everything. Then we say he is a skeptic. He is always skeptic about things, means he always doubts things. Let us go to the editorial and see how it starts. But before that, we'll have a look at vocabulary. Unveil, part of speech verb, we have got a few times. Show or announce publicly for the first time. You show something or you announce something publicly for the first time, that is nothing but unveiling. It also means, imagine a woman covers her face, you remove that cover or whatever she uses, a piece of cloth, that is also unveiling. But generally when it comes to a context like this, it means making something public. Junk, you all know the combination. A lot of youngsters, the youth especially, across the world, not only in our country, prefer, in Western countries as well, prefer what we call junk food. Junk food is nothing but fast food. And why is it called junk food? Not nutritious, no value as such. Based on that, junk food. Junk means waste. Here it has been, usually we use the word as a noun, as an adjective. Junk food, that's right, Shiva Prasad. I appreciate that. But here it has been used as a verb. As a verb, discard or abandon. Unceremoniously, that's an important word. Ceremoniously, unceremoniously. You have to know these two words. Imagine someone is getting retired, the last day at the workplace, and no one is bothered. Then he leaves the office, we say unceremonious exit. But on the other hand, they conduct a function, they facilitate, felicitate, and then we say ceremonious exit. And here unceremonious, discard or abandon. Abandon means to leave. That is one of the words you are going to get. And euphemism, we have got many a time. It is nothing but something is very harsh. If you say that, it sounds very harsh. To avoid that, you say the same thing in a nice manner. That is known as euphemism. For example, if I say he died, that sounds very harsh. But if I say he passed away, that sounds better. That is euphemism. Again, when we say mental hospital, it sounds very harsh. If I say asylum, sounds better, euphemism. The use of a word or phrase to avoid saying another word or phrase that may be unpleasant or harsh. And one more reason why it is important, it begins with a vowel letter, but it takes the indefinite article a euphemism, not an. That also you have to remember. Tidings, part of speech noun, news or information. Based on the survey, whatever information, we use the word the tidings. Abandon goes with effective English, important. Verb, cease to support or look after someone, or desert. This is important. Desert can be a noun, can be a verb. As a noun, you all know the Thar, the Sahara. But as a verb, desert someone means to leave someone when that person is in trouble or when the person is facing a lot of hardships. Imagine a particular person facing a lot of problems. The family does not support that person. Then we say the family has abandoned that particular person. And desert, an important word. Deleterious, again, an important word. They have given all these words you come across in bank exams, fillers, close test, and passage also. They should be at your fingertips. Deleterious, a part of speech adjective. causing harm or damage. Generally, I say deleterious means negative, dangerous, deleterious effects, dangerous effects. Exuberance, a positive word, part of speech, noun. The quality of being full of energy, excitement, and cheerfulness. Ebullience, this is also an important word. These two words are very important. And cheerful. Cheerful means always smiling. Some people are always smiling. Then we say cheerful person. Curb can be a verb, can be a noun. But when we say curbs, obviously it is a noun. What does it mean? A check or restraint on something. Curb something, restrict something. Put a restriction on something or restraint on something. Pent up adjective, an important expression of emotions, energy, etc., unable to be expressed or released. Actually, it goes with emotions, but in the context of the editorial, it has been used with a demand, pent up demand. Pent up means to hold inside and not releasing. And why is this? What is the typical combination? Pent up emotions. Pent up emotions are very dangerous. Pent up emotions means what? You hold all the emotions inside and you don't express your views or thoughts, and these are pent up emotions for a long time. Then at a later stage, that results in the manifestation depression. This is scientifically proven. Pent up emotions are very dangerous, but here pent up demand. But usually it goes with emotions. Impute, we have got for the first time, part of speech verb, represents something, especially something undesirable, as being done or possessed by someone. Imagine something is negative and you try to say someone else has done, it is like passing on the buck or evading the responsibility. That is known as impute, but in a way, attribute. Attribute is a positive word. I usually tell students, tomorrow you get success, you get the job, and we conduct a success meet. You go onto the stage, and on the stage you say, I attribute my success to my parents. What does it mean? Your success because of your parents. Attribute, a positive word, but here impute is a negative word. Myriad, part of speech, adjective. Many, remember the word many, but a literal meaning, a countless or extremely great number of people or things. Many things, myriad ways, many ways. So how to improve English language? Please listen to the vocabulary and analysis, but I don't want to disappoint you. All that you have to do, be confident and keep speaking. Practice a lot. A rejig, part of speech verb, organize something differently, rearrange, rejig, rearrange, easy to guess the meaning. The last slide related to vocabulary, pertinent, an important word. Even this has been given in bank exams many a time. Pertinent means what? Relevant, relating to, relevant, directly to the subject being considered. But generally it goes with the combination, a pertinent question means what? A relevant question. Imagine I'm talking about a particular topic or discussing a topic. Someone asks a question based on the topic, then I may say it is a pertinent question. Means what? It's a relevant question. That's an important word. And spike we have got many a time. At the time of COVID, I did a lot of editorials, and quite often we would get the word spike. Spike in the number of cases means sudden increase. For that, we also use the word surge. To rise to a higher amount, price, or level, usually before going down again. Suddenly something goes up, and again later it may come down, then we say spike in the number of cases. But the word spike can be a verb, can be a noun. As a noun, it means something very sharp. That's a different meaning altogether. Devoid is adjective, to lack or be without something that is necessary or usual. You don't have something that is necessary, then that means devoid, and it takes a preposition of. He is devoid of something. They are devoid of something. Remember the prepositional combination. Now we'll go to the editorial. You may wonder why is he smiling. This is something a bit difficult to understand or comprehend, and you got to have some background related to Indian economy and certain key concepts that go with Indian economy and the recent happenings, especially after 2016, whatever happened related to demonetization and impact of it on informal economy related to the goods and services tax, all these things are backdrop information, background information. Let us see how it starts. Decoding consumption. Coding, decoding. Decoding what? Consumption. Consumption of a typical household or the consumption of people. On the household consumption expenditure survey. As I said, this is all about a particular survey. What is that survey? Household consumption expenditure survey. But what is the main idea of this editorial? The 2022-23 household spending survey signals shifts in people's priorities. The 2022-23 household spending survey signals something. Here signal is a verb, but generally signal is a noun. Signals shifts in people's priorities. Priorities means preferences. There are shifts in people's preferences. In a nutshell, it's all about that. And to substantiate that statement, the editorial has to provide the data, statistical data. In an uncharacteristic late Saturday release, the Statistics Ministry unveiled the broad findings of the Household Consumption Expenditure Survey done between August 2022 and July 2023. Uncharacteristic means what? Not typical. Typical, characteristic. Opposite, uncharacteristic. You can also think of the word not the usual style, not the usual approach. In an uncharacteristic late Saturday release, the Statistics Ministry, this is the subject, did something. What did it do? Unveiled, made public the broad findings of the Household Consumption Expenditure Survey done between August 2022 and July 2023. Not the final report, broad findings of the survey they published or they unveiled or they made public. What does it say? This is significant. Now this sentence talks about the survey. It says, this is significant, important, as it is the first major survey-based data released since 2011-12 that captures ground realities at the household level. This is an important survey or major survey. This is significant. Why is it important? Why is it significant? As it is the first major survey-based data. First major survey, not minor survey, major survey-based data released since 2011-2012, and this survey captures what? Ground realities, what is happening at the lowest level or a common household level, ground realities at the household level, as I said, especially with the once a decade census due since 2021 nowhere in sight. There are two reasons why it is very significant or important. One reason, it captures that ground realities at the household level, the first reason. The second reason, generally we get information based on the census. And you all know census once in 10 years, once a decade. And last census due 2021, since 2021, it is nowhere in sight because we haven't got the information based on the latest census, which is due in 2021. This survey, the information provided by the survey is definitely significant or important. Conducted every 5 years. Now this survey, how often is it conducted? Once in 5 years. By whom? Conducted every 5 years by the National Sample Survey Office, NSSO. The results of the last such consumption survey, the last one, in 2017-2018, along with a similar employment survey, were junked with the government citing quality issues with their data. Last time they conducted way back in 2017-18, and here conducted every 5 years by the National Sample Survey Office. The results of the last such consumption survey in 2017-2018, along with some other survey. What is the other survey? Along with a similar employment survey, were junked. Here it is in past passive voice. The surveys were junked. The word junk actually a noun or an adjective, but here it has been used as a verb. Word junked means were discarded, were junked with the government citing, quoting. What was the reason for junking the surveys? The government citing quality issues with the data. They said quality issues, because of that they had to junk the surveys. But there's another view, viewed as a euphemism, this is something very important, not an euphemism, a euphemism, viewed as a euphemism for the unhappy tidings it may have showed. Imagine the survey showed something negative. Tidings means information, and they did not want that to go out. Based on that, they must have junked the reports or the surveys and viewed as euphemism for the unhappy tidings, unhappy information it may have showed. If the 2017-18 survey was abandoned means to leave, to discard, because it captured the deleterious after effects. It captured or it showed deleterious after effects. Deleterious means the dangerous, harmful after effects of one thing, demonetization of high value currency notes in late 2016 on India's largely informal economy. As I said, the demonetization impact of that largely on informal economy, not formal economy. One negative impact or deleterious after effects, and the other one, and the subsequent onset of the goods and services tax. The 2023 survey also needs to be interpreted with a dash of salt. That talks about the previous one, and now coming to the present one, the 2022-23 survey also needs to be interpreted with a dash of salt. That is an idiomatic expression. What does it mean, dash of salt? Element of doubt, to be skeptical. Some sort of doubt is there, we have to consider. Then we say, with a dash of salt, doubting something. For why? For here, the word can be a preposition, can be a conjunction. Here it is a conjunction. It talks about the reason. Why should we consider that with a dash of salt? For it may likely magnify the exuberance seen in consumption after 2 years of pandemic-induced curbs and income losses, what economists call the release of pent-up demand. We may see some improvement, sudden improvement, and the editorial says it may likely magnify means what? Enlarge the exuberance seen in consumption. Exuberance means excitement, spending a lot of money, seen in consumption after 2 years of pandemic-induced curbs. After the pandemic-induced curbs, 2 years after that, for 2 years they had inside pent-up demand. Now suddenly it came out. It shows that magnify the exuberance seen in consumption after 2 years of pandemic-induced curbs and income losses. And this exuberance, economists use a particular expression for this exuberance after 2 years based on the pandemic-based curbs. What do they call that? What economists call the release of pent-up demand. Pent-up demand, an important expression, holding for a long time and taking out suddenly. To be clear, the survey suggests some interesting transitions. Some changes are there. Change is always inevitable. To be clear, the survey suggests some interesting transitions in consumption patterns. Beginning of the editorial, the writer says the priorities have changed, the preferences have changed. To substantiate that statement, to be clear, the survey suggests some interesting transitions or changes in consumption patterns, and the complete findings must be published swiftly, quickly, to enable deeper analysis. At the outset, the editorial says there are some interesting patterns, changes, transitions, but to get a clear picture, the final survey has to be published. The complete findings must be published. Here it is in passive voice, swiftly, quickly to enable deeper analysis. Only when we get the final survey published, we can go in for the deeper analysis. Now it is like broad findings, we cannot go for deeper analysis. Households' average monthly per capita consumer expenditure, MPCE, rose 33.5% since 2011-12 in cities to reach 3,510 and 40.4% in rural India to 2008 rupees. This is all statistical data. Nothing, you have to look at the figures, the data, and you have to comprehend. The government has sought to paint this as a signal of rising incomes. There is some improvement. Based on that, the government has tried to project or portray this as rising incomes. The government has sought, rise, rose, risen, very good, I appreciate, sought to paint this or to portray this as a signal of rising incomes, narrowing inequality, and a sharp slippage in poverty levels. Because there is increase, the government tried to, the editorial, stand taken by the editorial, the government wants to paint this increase or portray this increase as three factors have been touched. One, rising incomes. Second, narrowing inequality. And third, a sharp slippage in poverty levels. But whenever you come across a contrasting word, you have to tell yourself, first statement may be positive, then but, however, all these contrasting words, quite opposite statement or information. But this only implies a 3.5% compounded annual growth in rural spends over 11 years with a 3% growth for urban households, well below the inflation and the GDP growth rates in this period. This is on the negative side. The government says something positive, three factors have been cited, but the reality, the editorial says, but this only implies a 3.5% compounded annual growth in rural spends over 11 years with a 3% growth for urban households, and these are well below the inflation and GDP growth rates in this period, during this period. Puzzlingly, puzzle, you have to recollect words like bewildered, puzzled, and perplexed. They all mean the same. Puzzlingly, even after adding the imputed values, attributed values of free goods received through a myriad of welfare schemes, after adding something, the imputed values means attributed values of free goods received through a myriad welfare schemes. Many welfare schemes, such as the PM Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, the average MPC only rose to 2,054 for rural households and 3,544 for urban peers. Confused, that's right. Peer, an important word. I should have brought it. Peer means someone at the same level, same age group, same position. And why is this important? Sometimes you may get a passage. There is a concept called peer pressure. Peer pressure. Many a time, baffled, perplexed, confused, bewildered. Very good, Nikita, I appreciate that. And they have given in bank exams as a passage, peer pressure. What is this peer pressure? Imagine someone has joined in a college, graduation first year, not exposed to any bad habits, but he enters a particular group. Usually when someone joins in a college, the person gets attracted to a particular group, he joins that group. And that group all smoke. And initially he says, no, no, no. After some time, the pressure, peer pressure, he can't say no and he will start smoking. That is known as peer pressure. Pressure put by people of the same status or age group. That's an important concept. Same level, urban peers means rural, urban, same level. That the proportion of monthly spends on food has slipped below 50% in rural homes to 46.4% and under 40% in urban homes, with cereals seeing the sharpest drop. is remarkable. Something is remarkable. What is remarkable? The consumption on food has gone down, slipped below 50% rural homes, under 40% in urban homes, and with cereals seeing the sharpest drop is remarkable and may ease inflation trends if used to rejig consumer price index weightages. This is purely based on economy, not that easy to comprehend. You need background information. However, it is a pertinent, important word, it is relevant to recall that food inflation began spiking. Food inflation began increasing last June, just ahead of the survey's completion, and has remained elevated since. It started increasing and it has been increasing. Has remained elevated since. It has gone up and it has remained over there. So proportional spends have likely changed. A clearer picture devoid of pent-up demand and inflation flip-flop effects. What is required, the editorial says, a clearer picture devoid of, without pent-up demand and inflation flip-flop effects is expected from the fresh survey that concludes this July. The final survey, the fresh survey concludes in July, and without the pent-up demand, without the flip-flop effects, inflation flip-flop effects, we have to wait for that, only then we can conclude. So any recalibration, recalculating or reassessment of poverty, inflation or GDP calculations must wait till those results are compiled and released as well. At this juncture, we cannot conclude. The editorials stand. At this juncture, we cannot conclude. We have to wait for the final result, the final publication. Based on that, we can talk about recalibrate poverty, inflation or GDP calculations, and we have to wait till that time. Otherwise, it won't be analytical in the real sense. It won't be scientific. I think it ends on that particular note. Yes. Today's questions are not easy. Let us see how you are going to answer these questions. If you get all the 5 questions today correct, you should be extremely happy, because these are based on economy, of course based on the editorial, but rather challenging. What is the first one over here? What is the main concern expressed in the editorial? I want you guys to respond. This is the time. Who is this? Saichan. Saichan, synonyms and antonyms are very important for SSC exam. And whenever you come across a new word, especially those who are preparing for SSC, what I tell them, whenever you come across a particular word, at the outset you have to create the word profile. What is the word profile? You have to write the word, the part of speech, the meaning, the example, the word forms, the word combinations, the word usage, the synonyms and antonyms. All these are very important from the exam point of view. And the last 2, synonyms, antonyms, very important from SSC point of view. But any word you have to create the word profile, and if you simply take the word, know the meaning, it is not going to help in the exam. Do remember. Many students have answered. I think almost all of them have said C. The impact of demonetization, not correct. The government's delay in releasing survey data, not correct. The potential exaggeration of positive trends in household consumption. Exactly. Potential exaggeration, magnifying. Exaggerate means magnify. The decline, not correct. Good. C is the answer. I appreciate that. Why does the editorial mention the household consumption expenditure survey conducted between August 2022 and July 2023? Why does it mention, the editorial, this particular survey? What is a survey? The household consumption expenditure survey. To criticize the timing of its release on a Saturday, to highlight its significance as the first major survey-based data since 2011-12, Very good. Jagdishwari, first one to answer, got it right. Pranita also. And Sai Chand, Divya, all these students, wonderful, I appreciate. Answer is to highlight its significance as the first major survey based data since 2011-12. So far, so good. Question number 3. What does the editorial suggest about the government's interpretation of the rise in average monthly per capita consumer expenditure? A rise in average monthly per capita consumer expenditure. About that, what does the editorial suggest? It supports the government's claims of reduced inequality. It questions the government's portrayal of rising incomes. It applauds the government's efforts in poverty reduction. It agrees with the government's decision to abandon the 2017-18 survey. This is also easy to answer, should not be a problem. Try to get this one also correct. D, what is D? It agrees with the government's decision to abandon. No, it does not agree. It says they discarded, and it is nothing but euphemism. They said it was not valid, but euphemism, something negative was there, so they discarded. D is not the answer. What does the editorial suggest about the government's interpretation of the rise in, what are the key words here? A rise in average monthly per capita consumer expenditure. That does not go with this survey, not D. It supports the government's claims of reduced inequality, no. It applauds the government's efforts in poverty reduction, no. And not this also. What is the answer? It questions the government's portrayal of rising incomes. It questions. The government says something positive, but the editorial questions. So we have to choose. B is the answer. No problem. According to the editorial, why is it important to wait for the results of the upcoming survey in July before recalibrating certain calculations? Why should we wait for the final publication, which is going to come in the month of July, before recalibrating certain calculations? To address quality issues with the data, to incorporate the impact of demonetization, to factor in, means consider the potential effects of pent-up demand and inflation. Fourth one is not A. No, not quality issues. Quality issues, the government said 2017-18 survey. Not A, not A. Answer is to factor in, means to consider the potential effects of pent-up demand and inflation. We have to wait because two things are important. One, devoid of, the editorial says, devoid of pent-up demand, without pent-up demand. Based on that, potential effects of pent-up demand and inflation. What is the editorial's view on the shift in consumption patterns mentioned in the survey? Shift or transition in consumption patterns. What is the editorial's view? It considers it a positive sign of economic growth. It dismisses it as insignificant. It emphasizes the need to adjust consumer price index weightages. It argues that it has no impact on inflation trends. This is also not an easy one. You have to be a little careful. A is not the answer. The editorial does not accept that. C is also not the answer. Yes, here C is the answer. Who is that? Nandini, first one. After that I see Vinay and Jagdishwari, Pranita, Divya, all. It emphasizes the need to adjust, clearly mentioned in the editorial. It is based on explicit information. Consumer price index weightages. Answer is C. I would like to know, has anyone got all the 5 questions correct? Please answer. If you say I got all the 5 correct, wonderful, highly appreciable. Because this is a live session, you have listened to me based on Indian economy, based on a particular survey, consumption, expenditure, household expenditure. Not easy to answer all the 5 questions. If you say yes, wonderful. Now let us go to the words we got yesterday from the editorial. We got about 16 words. Try to recollect, write the part of speech, write the keyword meaning. You don't have to write the whole thing. 3, you should be happy. 4 also you should be happy. 4, Pranita says 4, Gangu also says 4. Good enough. Be happy. 3 also be happy, not easy. Shiv Prasad 3 and Harika also 3. Good. Please have a look at these and do respond. See what happens when it comes to editorial vocabulary consolidation. I see the number going down. In my opinion, this is the most important slide. What is the reason? While preparing for competitive exams, you got to learn a lot and not easy to remember. How can we remember when we revise? In a way, you're getting a chance to revise, recollect, and consolidate your editorial vocabulary. First one is what? Indomitable, part of speech, adjective. And what was the combination used in the editorial? Indomitable force. I give the combination indomitable spirit of youngsters while preparing for competitive exams. Brag is a verb. What does it mean? Someone has already answered. Talk proudly about one's possession, someone or something. Yes, say proudly. What is the other word? What is the other word? Boast. And what is the idiom? Blow one's own trumpet. A riveting, part of speech, adjective. A riveting story, a riveting match means what? Fascinating. Exactly. Please mention the word number. Only then I can respond. Second one, first one over, second one over, the third one, a riveting adjective. Yes, Saishan. But what does it mean? Who is this Gangu? Don't use Telugu words. You're right in a way, but still not advisable on this platform. Fascinating, exciting, interesting. Yes, very good. Tale, part of speech, noun. For which one? Sneak. Oh, you have gone to the fifth one, Jagdishwari. Tale means what? A story, a fable, a narrative. Yes, sneak, to move stealthily, part of speech, verb. To move furtively or stealthily. Hustle, hustle used as a verb. It can also be a noun. Hustle can be a verb, can be a noun. Sneak out, exactly. Lavanya, it's a phrasal verb. Sneak out of the classroom. And hustle means what? I give one idiom if you guys remember. The hustle and bustle of the city. The pace and the noise of a city. Rapidly, quick, fast, pace. Frenetic, part of speech, adjective. Frenetic, energetic, yes, seventh one, very good. Jagdishwari, exactly, fast and energetic. But the focus is more on energetic, with a lot of energy, enthusiasm, exuberance. Ah, very good, Nikita. All these words you have to think of. At the helm means what? Here it has been used as a noun. When I say at the helm, at the top. But helming the team means controlling the team. It can be a noun, it can be a verb. Control. Helm means to control. Captain controls the team. Rohit helmed the inexperienced players. Appointed for what? Please mention the word number. Maverick, part of speech, noun. He is a maverick. Means what? It goes with sports field. Unorthodox, creative, innovative. Rohit helmed, very good, Sai Chen. Lead, Vinay Kumar, yes, lead the team. Independent, more than independent, unorthodox, different, unique. These are the words you have to think when you think of the word maverick. And ominous, an important word, part of speech, adjective. Ominous sign, ominous something means what? Unorthodox shot, yes. Unorthodox player. Not dangerous, ominous means bad, inauspicious, something very bad. England won the first test, it was ominous. Excuse me. Seasoned player, seasoned politician means what? Experienced. Exactly. Lexicon, noun. In the context of the editorial, knowledge related to a particular field. When we say cricket lexicon, means what? Knowledge related to the field of cricket. Shopping spree, I gave the combination, noun. Unrestrained activity. You shop continuously every day. That is known as shopping spree. 13, has anyone answered? Lexicon has many meanings. One, it means a dictionary, lexical terms, related words. And here, cricket lexicon means what? Knowledge that belongs to a particular field. Unrestrained, very good. Exhilarating, part of speech, adjective. Exhilarating means what? Full of excitement, happiness, exhilarating feeling. Overwhelming also you can say. And linger, part of speech, verb. Lingering thoughts, then we say adjective. Linger means to be at a particular place longer than required. Elated also you can use, very good, Vinay Kumar. Energetic, for which one? 14. More than energetic, excited, happy. And the linger, the after that, abrasive. Abrasive material means what? Abrasive has got different meanings. Lingering thoughts. Nikita, very good. I appreciate that. Abrasive material, a different meaning altogether. But based on the editorial, abrasive pitches means what? Harsh. Harsh is a word you have to recollect. Showing little concern for others, that is another meaning. But based on the editorial, harsh is a right word or appropriate word. That's all for today. I appreciate your response. Keep responding. When you write the part of speech, the meaning, you got the words yesterday, and today you're able to recollect and write the part of speech, the meaning. It shows that you're quite enthusiastic and you're able to remember, and you can consolidate your editorial vocabulary. And do remember, when it comes to competitive exam, the most important factor, consolidation. How much time you spend, that doesn't matter. How much you remember, how fast you can recollect. These are the deciding factors. Have a nice day. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you very much. ఈరోజు